Welcome to the K.R Films Entertainment channel. Today I'm going to explain an American horror thriller film called Old. Spoilers ahead, my chat, and take care. It's time to get Shyam Laman. At the start of the movie, the Kappa family gets invited to a resort for a holiday trip. The parents, Guy and Prizer, have never heard of the resort before, but nonetheless they're excited. Once they reach it, the entire staff greets them, including the manager himself. A woman then arrives in. It gives them welcome drinks. After a while, she leads the kids, Trent and Maddox, outside while several other people are chilling at the candy station. The kids meet It-Lib, the manager's nephew. Trent immediately befriends him to start exploring the place. Meanwhile, Maddox had her parents get into their bathing suits and have a fun time on the beach. At first glance, it appears as if the family is about to have the time of their lives. However, little did they know that they're in for one hell of a horror ride, probably a twist ending to the next morning. We are introduced to the other family's ever breakfast. Charles, a renowned surgeon, has come along with his mother Agnes, his wife Crystal, and their 6-year-old daughter Cara. Crystal hits on the waiter right in front of her husband. I hope I get super rich someday so I can have a broken relationship to. Then there is the Carmichael couple consisting of Urine and Patricia. The latter is suffering from epilepsy, which often causes her to have seizures. Even today at breakfast she experiences a violent seizure, but luckily the surgeon Charles helps her up. Meanwhile, the resort manager approaches the couple family and tells them about a beautiful beach that lies just 5 kilometers from there. He also mentions that he has already arranged a vehicle and other essential for their trip. Guy and priests are perplexed as to why they are being treated like royalty. Nonetheless, they agree. Shortly after, the family boards the bus and gets ready for their trip. To their dismay, Crescent, his family, so join in making the trip not so exclusive. After a while, they drive past a gate they clearly says off limits. None of the guests notice it as they are too caught up in their own activities. Once they reach the end of the road, the driver drops them off and points them in the direction of the beach. He doesn't even bother to escort them there or carry their belongings before leaving. He mentions they will pick them up at 5 p.m. In the next scene, the group continues walking through the forest and into a narrow cavern from where they eventually arrive at the beach. It is an absolutely stunning place, just like the resort manager had promised. Wasting no time, both the family started packing their stuff and they notice a lonely-looking man sitting nearby. He is revealed to be a famous rapper named Midsize Sedan. Epic Midsize Sedan. Maddox immediately recognizes him and tries to get his autograph. Her dad tells her to leave the guy alone. After a while, the three kids get to playing and find numerous items buried in the sand. Most of them are toys, while some are other objects that one would normally bring to the beach. It gets even weirder here. The beach doesn't contain a single fish, not even small mollusks, and you know what they say, no mollusks. Get the hell out of there. Meanwhile, Trent, being a curious, can go swimming alone. He splashes against the small waves and is having a fun time until a dead body comes floating towards him. Terrified, he's screams for help and the adults immediately come to rescue him. The dead body is brought to the shore and the surgeon Charles says that she had drowned just recently. He then asserts that Midsize Sedan killer is there was no one else on the beach when they arrived. Dude must have Midsize murdered her. As the accusation becomes even more compelling when Sudan is seen bleeding from the nose. It's indicating that he had a fight with a woman. The latter tries to explain that he had nothing to do with the incident, but no one believes him. Meanwhile, the little boy Trent keeps complaining that his swimsuit feels tighter. Could have something to do with that dead naked body on the beaches. Could be the start of a problem for little Trent. Charles, his mother Agnes, also says that she is having difficulties in breathing. Sensing that something bad is happening, Charles tries calling for help, but there is no signal in the area. Just then, the couple from earlier, the Carmichaels, arrives there. They have also been dropped off by the driver on the resort manager's orders. The terrified group immediately briefs them on the situation, and hence the husband Jared decides to stop the driver from leaving. However, as soon as he runs inside the cabin, he falls unconscious. A few seconds later, he wakes up on the beach with a bad headache. Everyone is confused by what just happened, but before they can investigate it, they learn that Agnes has stopped breathing. The group immediately rushes to her, and Charles tries his best to resuscitate his mother. Unfortunately, all of his efforts go in vain. Meanwhile, the Carmichaels are talking to the Kappa kids to distract them. Jared asks the boy his age, to which Trent replies 6. The Carmichael find it hard to believe as he looks considerably older. Just then, Prizer arrives at the scene and is stunned to see her children. Miraculously, they have aged by a few years, making them impossible to recognize. Nice seeing the chaos unfolding around him. Satan makes a run for it and Charles chases after him. However, as soon as they reach the caravan, a blackout and regain consciousness. Back on the beach, witnessing all of this, a worried Prizer asserts that they should find another way out of the place. Unfortunately, every time one of them gets near the large canyon, they lose consciousness and end up on the beach again. This means that they are trapped for good with two dead bodies around them. To make matters worse, the children are aging so rapidly that it will be difficult to find new clothes for them. We're going after see our kids naked. Panic sets in and the adults start brainstorming on what to do next. The cap is believed that a virus is causing all the anomalies, while Charles, who has started becoming paranoid, makes a cut on Sedan's face with a knife. Someone's gotta call Charles out on his racism. Surprisingly, the cut gets killed instantly, almost as if it never existed. After a while, Maddox takes it and away and asks him the truth about the place. The latter promises that he's as clueless as they are as the two get comfortable talking. Sedan reveals that he suffers from a rare condition which stops his blood from clotting. Meanwhile, the adults also discover that the girl they found dead on the beach was suffering from sclerosis, just that priest asserts losing her senses and soon falls to the ground. It turns out she is suffering from a tumor, and this is the main reason why her marriage with Guy was falling apart. Before they arrived on the beach, it was a tiny tumor, but now it has grown to become the size of a tennis ball. With time running out, Charles decides to perform a surgery with the knife he has. However, as soon as he makes an incision, it heals instantly, just like it did with Sudan. To make matters worse, Charles starts talking to himself. Before arriving at the beach, he had displayed symptoms of schizophrenia, but now the disease is taking over him. Her nice try, Charles, we know you're just racist. Fortunately, the rest of the group have some snap out of it so that he can continue with the operation. Charles then makes another cat near priest's his abdomen, and this time everyone hold the opening said that it doesn't heal, they only release it after Charles takes out the giant's tumor, and as soon as the wound heals, Preset regains consciousness. She is no longer sick now. Unfortunately, their happy moment doesn't last long as they realize that the dead woman from earlier has now turned into dust and bones. Her body has been taken out only a few hours ago, but somehow it has completely decomposed. Prizer, who is a museum curator, examines the balance. It explains that some thing like this takes at least 7 years to decompose. This is when the group finally realizes that time is moving faster on this beach. Pricer calculates it precisely and concludes that half an hour here is equivalent to a full year in human life elsewhere. The kids, Trent and Kara, are seen munching on the remaining food. When they return, everyone is shocked to see them all grown up. Not only that, Kara is heavily pregnant with a child. They must have had sex like 7 seconds ago. Realizing that she may give birth any time now, Charles and the others lay her down and prepare to get the baby out. Crystal also wants to be with her daughter, but she passes out due to anxiety. When she wakes up, she finds that the Kara has given birth to a baby, but it is now Dad. Time moved so fast for the baby that it didn't even get a chance to consume food and build its muscles. Trent looks at all this and becomes confused, as despite being a grown-up, he still thinks like a 6-year-old. On the other hand, Charles has started to lose it. In one instance, he threatens Garen to go away, while in another he tells his wife to put on makeup and Zhang. She looks ugly. Charles eventually crosses the limit when he grabs Sudan and repeatedly stabs him with a knife. The poor rapper doesn't even get a chance to heal due to his condition, which prevents blood from clotting. Devastated, Year decides to cross the waves and call for help. Sang, risking his life is better than dying here. Slowly after he leaves, Guy slowly takes a knife away from Charles, who at this point has become totally paranoid. Seeing this, he suddenly realizes something. All the families that arrived at the beach had something in common. At least one of their members was suffering from an ailment. For instance, Prizer had a tumor, Charles was suffering from racism, Sudan had a rare blood condition, and the dead woman was suffering from multiple sclerosis. This guy then asks his wife where she got the invitation card. Prizer reveals that she got it on a random sweepstakes which was on the back of her pharmacy receipt. This concludes that the resort owners already knew their medical histories. In the next scene, when Maddox goes for a swim, she comes across a dead body. It is revealed to be that of Year, and thank God I couldn't pronounce that guy his name. He must have blacked out inside the water and rot, similar to what happened to the woman from earlier. Seeing him, Patricia cries in agony, while the remaining group becomes even more devastated as they have literally nowhere to escape. However, Carrie does not want to give up so easily. She decides to climb up the canyon and almost succeeds in it. Unfortunately, just as she reaches the top, she blacked out and falls to her death. Seconds later, Patricia starts convulsing violently and she passes away too. In this way, 2 more corpses are added to the collection. Soon the day turns into night and the Kappa couple slowly starts losing their senses. At this point, they can't even recall why they are trying to leave this beautiful place. On the other hand, their children have unearthed a book which apparently belonged to the people that came before them. In it, the names of all the people are mentioned along with their addresses and ailments. Just then, Trent's attention is diverted by a light coming from the top of the hill. On a closer look, he finds out that it is a camera. This means that someone is inspecting them. Meanwhile, Charles, who has become a ticking time bomb, slowly approaches Guy to finish him off. The latter cannot see it because he has become nearly blind. Soon, Charles launches adamant, starts slashing his body with a knife. Prizer is just nearby, but she cannot hear it as she has become deaf. However, when she eventually finds that what's going on, she grabs a the knife and attacks Charles with it. She manages to make a small cut on his arms, but this is enough to kill him as the rust immediately enters his veins. Elsewhere, the siblings slowly into the cave where they run into an aging Crystal. She doesn't want anyone to see a hideous face, so she tries killing the children with rocks. However, when she tries picking up a big water, her bones break. It immediately heals, but in the wrong direction, deforming her. Crystal dies a painful death shortly after. After the commotion ends, it is only the Kappa family that is standing. They regrouped near the beach for one last time, and Guy emotionally says that he loves his family a lot. Saying this, he passes away. Prizer also succumbs to her old age soon. The children are distraught as with had their parents. They're helpless. The next morning, they wake up in their late 40s knowing that they will also end up like their parents. Trent and Maddox decide to spend the remainder of their time playing. They start making sand castles, and this is when Trent remembers that the resort manager's nephew Eat Leave had given him a puzzle to solve. Since they have a lot of time, Trent brings out the puzzle and eventually deciphers it. It reads, "My uncle doesn't like the quarrel." With this message, the siblings realize that the coral has all the answers to their questions. Hence, without wasting any time, they dive into the water and head to the coral. Soon they come across an underwater tunnel, and as they try to get through it, Maddox's dress gets so shock on a piece of coral. The scene then cuts to a man observing the beach from the hills. He is none other than an HTML and himself. His twists are getting so powerful that he's injecting himself into his own films. What will be doing acts? What will they do next? But actually, he is none other than the driver who dropped the families off there. After confirming that everyone is dead, he calls his boss and briefs him on the situation. Then he packed his belongings and leaves. Following this, we are taken to a lab where several prominent scientists are researching different medicines. A resort manager is also there and tells everyone the trial 73 is over. He also reminds them that because of this beach, they have been able to save millions of lives using their medicine. You would think after 73 trials he wouldn't have to give this speech anymore. Here we get to know that the resort is actually a sham for medicine company. They use the beach to conduct clinical trials on people. Said it. They can get the results in a matter of minutes as opposed to years. The welcome drinks that they provide to the guests are actually mixed with trial medicines for their particular illnesses. Elsewhere, we see the campus siblings who have somehow managed to survive the deadly waves. They are now back in the resort with the notebook they found on the beach. Soon they find a police officer who is also a holiday and tell him everything that happened. To make him understand, the siblings even hand him the notebook which has the list of all the missing people. The court makes some costs and concludes that the people are actually missing. The fact that there is a capable policeman in this movie is the real West. In the final scene, the medical lab is busted and all the scientists are taken into custody. As for videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.